You know what they say about getting everything you think you want? Sometimes it comes back to bite you in ways you never saw coming. I'm Reagan. I'm 29, and I used to have it all figured out. Used to being the key phrase here. Look, I've always known exactly what I wanted out of life. After spending 4 years with this complete waste of space who treated me like garbage, calling me a spoiled brat just because I wanted to be taken care of, I knew I deserved better. That guy would scream at me for wanting to quit working at my grandfather's freight company and just be a wife. He'd go off about how an idle mind is the devil's playground and how I'd probably cheat if I wasn't working. What a joke. I told him straight up, if I'm gonna cheat, I'll find a way regardless of whether I'm sitting at home or not. That set him off so bad he kicked me out that same day. So there I was, crashing at my cousin Destiny's place, working dispatch at Grandpa Vincent's trucking business with half my family. Absolutely miserable. I never wanted to work there, but hey, guaranteed paycheck. Right? I was just existing, going through the motions. When I met Jared, I wasn't even looking for anything serious when he showed up in my life. But this man, he was different. Smart as hell, worked in cybersecurity at the military base, and actually listened when I told him what I wanted. I was upfront from day one. I want to be provided for. I want to focus on being a wife. I want to rest in my femininity instead of grinding away at some job I hate. Most guys would have run screaming. But Jared just nodded and said, if we clicked and he could see me as wife material, he had no problem being the provider. Finally, someone who got it. We dated for a year, taking turns paying for dates, and I didn't mind because I could see the bigger picture. This was my investment in my future. Jared was steady, reliable, had his life together. When he proposed, I thought I'd won the lottery. Then came the conversation that changed everything. The night after he proposed, Jared drops this bomb about wanting a prenup. I'm like, why? Are you secretly Elon Musk or something? I was joking. But then he starts explaining about protecting what he'd worked for. Turns out my future husband owns multiple rental properties, has investments, the whole 9 yards. On paper, the man's a millionaire, a freaking millionaire. And he never mentioned it. I was blown away. Here I thought I was marrying a decent guy with a stable job, and I'd actually landed someone loaded. The prenup thing made me nervous. What if he decided to cheat and leave me with nothing? But he swore up and down he'd never do anything like that. He even paid for my lawyer during the signing process. Looking back, I should have paid more attention to that document. But I was so focused on finally getting my dream life that I just signed whatever. The first 6 years of marriage were everything I dreamed of. Beautiful house, no job stress. Just me taking care of our home. I cooked breakfast and dinner every single day, kept everything perfect, played the ideal wife role. Our intimate life was amazing when it happened. But that became the problem. It didn't happen nearly enough for my liking. I wanted it every morning before Jared left for work and every evening when he came home, plus more on weekends. I'd bring this up, and he'd try to keep up for a while. But then work stress would kick in, and we'd be back to his schedule instead of mine. I started feeling neglected, unappreciated. If he truly loved me, wouldn't he prioritize my needs? That's when I started noticing other men differently. The UPS guy, the repair technicians, even the mailman, they all seemed more exciting, more willing to take charge. I'd catch myself fantasizing about what it would be like if one of them just took control. Jared felt so predictable, so safe. Where was the passion? The thoughts got stronger and stronger until I couldn't ignore them anymore. I downloaded a dating app, telling myself I deserved this outlet. I wasn't planning anything serious, just wanted to feel desired again. That's when I matched with Blake. Blake was upfront about being in an open marriage with his wife Sophia. 12 years they'd been together. And they had this whole arrangement worked out. When I told him I was married and doing this behind my husband's back, he didn't judge me or try to talk me out of it. He understood that sometimes you need more than what you're getting at home. We kept our conversations on the app for weeks, just getting to know each other. Blake was everything Jared wasn't. Spontaneous, exciting, willing to take risks. When he finally suggested meeting in person, I didn't hesitate to invite him over. Jared's work schedule was so predictable that I knew exactly when I'd have the house to myself. Blake started coming over twice a week, sometimes calling in sick to his own job just to spend time with me. For 3 months, I felt more alive than I had in years. Then Blake mentioned something that changed everything. He wanted me to meet Sophia. The idea of being with both of them was terrifying and thrilling at the same time. I'd never done anything like that before, but the thought wouldn't leave my head. When I finally went to their place and we all got intimate together, it was incredible. I felt like I'd discovered this whole other side of myself that had been buried under years of routine marriage. That experience made going home to Jared feel even more suffocating. Here I was, discovering what I was really capable of, and I had to pretend to be satisfied with missionary position twice a week. The contrast was killing me. I started thinking about what it would be like to live with Blake and Sophia full-time, to explore this lifestyle completely. But I wasn't ready to throw away my financial security for some experiment. I still loved Jared in my way, and I definitely loved the comfortable life he provided. That's when I came up with what I thought was the perfect solution: a temporary separation. I approached Jared one evening and told him I needed a break, just some time to figure myself out mentally. The man completely fell apart. I'd never seen him cry like that, not even at funerals. He was sobbing, asking what he'd done wrong, begging me to tell him how to fix it. Part of me felt bad seeing him like that, but I pushed through. I promised him it was temporary, that I just needed space to get my head right. He kept asking where I'd stay, if he could call me, if we could text. I lied and said I'd be at Destiny's place and that I'd be the one reaching out initially. The next day, I moved in with Blake and Sophia. At first, I kept up the charade, calling Jared every day to check in. But the more time I spent in my new living situation, the less I wanted to deal with his neediness. He'd send these long text messages about missing me and wanting to work things out. And I'd just roll my eyes. This was supposed to be my time to explore and discover myself, not manage his emotions from a distance. When he started showing up at Destiny's house looking for me, I told her to cover for me. She'd text me saying he was outside waiting, sometimes for hours, just hoping I'd show up. It was pathetic. Really, instead of giving me the space I asked for, he was acting like some lovesick teenager. I eventually stopped looking at my phone altogether. Blake and Sophia's lifestyle was everything I'd been missing. Spontaneous, passionate, free from all the boring domestic responsibilities. We'd stay up late talking about philosophy and relationships, experiment with different dynamics, travel on weekends. It was like being in college again, except better because I actually knew what I wanted now. For 3 months, I lived like this. 3 months of feeling truly alive and authentic. I figured Jared would be there when I was ready to come back, probably grateful that I'd worked through whatever I needed to work through. I was so wrong. One morning, I decided to swing by the house to grab some clothes. Jared should have been at work. His schedule never changed, and it was barely 10 a.m., but as I pulled up, I could see straight into our kitchen through the big front window. There was this gorgeous young woman sitting at my kitchen table, laughing with my husband. She looked foreign, maybe European, with this natural beauty that didn't need any makeup, and she was clearly comfortable there, like she belonged. Then I watched them kiss. Not a quick peck, but a real kiss. Intimate and familiar. My stomach dropped to the floor. What the hell was happening? I was just taking a break, working on myself. This wasn't supposed to happen. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, just staring at them through the window. They looked happy, really, genuinely happy in a way that made my chest tight. Jared was smiling more than I'd seen in months, and this woman was looking at him like he hung the moon. I couldn't bring myself to go inside. Instead, I drove straight back to Blake and Sophia's place, my hands shaking the entire way. That's when I finally charged up my phone and saw dozens of missed calls and texts from Jared. The recent ones weren't desperate anymore. They were cold, formal. The last one just said, "Please stop contacting me." I tried calling him immediately, straight to voicemail. I texted him that I was ready to come home, that I missed him, that I never wanted to take another break again. Nothing. Radio silence. I broke things off with Blake and Sophia that same day. They were confused, but understanding. They'd seen this kind of thing before. Apparently, people thinking they wanted their lifestyle until reality hit. When I got home, Jared was there with that woman. I completely lost it. "Are you kidding me right now?" I screamed at him the second I walked through the door. "You're seriously cheating on me, in our house." Jared looked at me like I was a stranger. "You abandoned this marriage 3 months ago. Reagan. I filed for divorce last week." Divorce. The word hit me like a truck. "We were on a break. A temporary break. You disappeared," he said, his voice eerily calm. "You lied about where you were staying, ignored my calls, refused to communicate. That's not a break. That's abandonment." The woman, Carmen, he introduced her as, just sat there quietly while we argued. She didn't look smug or territorial, just sad for the whole situation, which somehow made it worse. I went into full survival mode. If Jared wanted to play hardball, I'd show him hardball. I found the toughest divorce lawyer I could afford and told them to go after everything. The house, the cars, part of his retirement, alimony, the works. The prenup should be invalid because he'd clearly been cheating. That's when I learned just how screwed I really was. My lawyer explained that proving adultery requires evidence of the relationship starting before the separation. Jared's team had documentation showing I'd abandoned the marriage first. Phone records proved I'd stopped communicating. Destiny had to testify that I wasn't actually staying with her. The prenup held up perfectly. I got nothing. Not the house. Not a car. Not a penny of his retirement or investments. After 7 years of marriage, I walked away with exactly what I'd brought into it, which was basically nothing. I moved back in with Destiny, tail between my legs, and had to go back to working dispatch at Grandpa Vincent's freight company. The same job I'd been so desperate to escape. The same routine I'd hated for years. 8 months after the divorce was finalized, I saw Jared post on Facebook about moving in with Carmen. They looked ridiculously happy in the photos, hiking together, cooking dinner, just normal couple stuff that somehow looked magical when it wasn't me doing it. I couldn't help myself. I sent him a friend request, which he actually accepted. Then I messaged him. You keeping me as a friend tells me that maybe there's a possibility of us rekindling our love. I wrote, trying to sound casual. His response was swift and brutal. No. I tried again. You seem very happy with your girlfriend. How was your trip home to see your family? I guess I may be bothering you. Huh. Yes, you are. Leave me alone. But I couldn't let it go. I don't mind you keeping her around if we rekindle our love. Can I come back home? No. That was it. No explanation. No discussion. Just a flat rejection followed by him blocking me on everything. So here I am. Back where I started. Working a job I hate. Living with my cousin. Watching my ex-husband build the life I threw away with someone who actually appreciates it. Carmen doesn't just get the financial security I wanted. She gets a man who's learned how to protect himself, who won't tolerate being taken for granted again. Look, I know what people think. They think I got what I deserved, that I should have been grateful for what I had. And maybe they're right. Maybe I did mess up by wanting more than just comfortable routine. Maybe I should have talked to Jared about opening up our marriage instead of going behind his back. But here's what really gets me. He gave up on us so easily. 3 months. And he was ready to replace me completely. 7 years of marriage. And he couldn't fight a little harder to win me back. Instead, he found himself a younger model who probably worships the ground he walks on. Fine. Let them have their perfect little life. I'm done trying to fix something that's clearly broken beyond repair. I'll figure out my own path. Even if it means starting over at 30 with nothing but a job I never wanted and a family that keeps reminding me how I had it all once upon a time. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just been content with what I had. But then I remember how alive I felt during those 3 months, how much I discovered about myself, how free I was from all the expectations and routines. I can't bring myself to regret that, even if it cost me everything else.